we start the session, I shall begin by asking you some questions. Please do give me answers in the chat box, and while we wait for a minute or two for the others to join, we shall kind of have some interesting answers coming from you. All right. So the first question which I want to ask, once again, just to confirm, are you able to hear my voice clearly? Please give me a yes in the chat box if you can, quickly. Can you hear me clearly? The students who are here, please give me a yes. I see 10 attendees. Guys, can you hear me clearly? Give me a yes quickly. Okay, I can. Okay, I have Prakhar who has replied, so I'm just going to go with him. I did not get any yes from the others, but let me begin by saying that this has to be a very engaging session. It is not going to be a lecture. It is nothing you have not heard before. So if you can give me answers, it will make it interesting for both of us. So quickly, moving forward, let me ask you the next question. Have you guys attended any of the workshops done prior to this? So have you attended the one before this, the session before this, the focus of the month session? Give me a yes if you have. Yeah, of the 10 attendees, has anyone? Okay, let me go to, yes, I see some names. Let me ask. Okay, Krishnakant, Kulashekar, Rampal, Sejal. Can you please give me some answers in the chat box? Did you attend the session, the previous session? Sejal, and I see Suyambu. Okay, Nila, yes. Can you please give me an answer? I'm not really able to see your answers in that. Okay, so Krishnakant says no. Okay, all right. Fine, it shouldn't matter as much because I'm going to be kind of, telling you what also happened in the previous sessions very briefly though. Okay, so to begin with, let me introduce myself by giving a face to the name. Okay, so just a second. Yeah. So my name is Divya, okay, and I am currently working as a senior consultant with Career Labs. Okay, I've been a part of the academics team, but prior to this, I have been training engineers, teaching engineers for close to 15 years now. So I can say, primarily I'm 60% an engineer myself. But then currently I'm also completing my PhD in ELT, and I've also been kind of training engineers for communication, interview prep. So kind of makes me the right person to be talking to you about the focus of the month session today, especially with reference to aptitude. Okay, so quick question before we move on. Have you heard of the term aptitude in terms of tests? Give me another yes. So I got the first answer from Krishnakant, looking for some other names. Have you heard of the term aptitude tests? Quickly. Yes, no, I don't know. Yes, so I got a message from, yeah, Jay Raj Shekhar has given me yes. So I see many yeses now. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to definitely look at a little more of that. But before that, let's go in order and figure out what we are going to be doing today. Right. So we are looking at the focus of the month sessions that have happened prior to this. So I know you've been probably you've attended one on balancing academics, profile building, drafting your CV, which is a very, very essential element, and also talking about identifying your career path. So we are going to, as I told you before, we're going to be talking about aptitude. What is aptitude and how is it going to help, and what you are going to do to ensure that your aptitude prep is done right. Okay, so I only have one request that, as I keep asking questions, please do reply in the chat box so that we kind of have a better idea. I have a better idea of what you guys are, whether you're getting what I'm saying and whether we're moving in the right direction. Super. So then moving forward, okay, we are going to talk about Okay, so the first things, we are talking about your access to the classroom. So all of you know that you have your courses. Okay, I'm sure all of you have accessed the same too, and you have been told about this before, where we talk about how to access the portal. Either you can do it through the ID here, the servicing portal, or you can directly go through the course portal. And what are you going to do? You're going to click on the courses, open the course of your interest and the one you have enrolled for, log in with your registered email account. But this happens to be a very, very important process, because we realize anytime, okay, anytime you have a problem, while accessing the portal, you face a roadblock, please immediately get in touch with our team, because our team is there, to help you, and they are pretty good in terms of their turnaround time. So once you do this, you log in with your registered ID, you log into your portal. What you need to do is go on to your courses and then figure out what you're going to do next. Okay, it is important, even if you, for any kind of prep, everything with regard to your CV, with regard to your previously recorded webinars, everything is available in your portal. So I cannot emphasize enough how important this portal is. All right. Okay, so now that we've gotten the essentials out of the way, let us look at what we are moving to. Okay, so once you have searched for the course you're enrolled, okay, you will get access to all the elements of the course. But that aside, what are we going to do today? I told you about aptitude, but let's see what are the different elements we are going to see. Okay, so the first one, we are going to start with the preparations checklist. Okay, and we will be looking at CV. Okay, I told you there is a webinar on CV which is available on the course. We're just going to look at what what is required of the same. But most importantly, I am going to talk to you about the aptitude course, where I'll conduct a small workshop which will give you some interesting questions and will also tell you how to tackle those questions very briefly, but in a very interesting manner. All right, so before, and then we will also look at some success stories, after which we will take up your questions. Okay, people, so give me a quick yes if you are on board right now, you've understood, and you're all ready to move ahead with the next set of slides. So quickly give me a yes in the chat box. Waiting for a couple of yeses, and then I'm moving on to what we have geared up for the day. Are you all clear with the process till now about the student portal, about your course and all of that? Give me a yes in the chat box. Lag, because I don't see a yes. The last one which I got was from Krishna Kant. What about the others, guys? Are you giving me a yes in the chat box? Okay, I'm just going to go ahead, presuming you guys are able to listen, because if there is a problem, please do text in the question box so that we know what's happening. I'm going to wait for about 5 seconds and then move on. Yes. All right. So what is the objective of the session? Okay, aptitude happens to be a very, very important element. So you need to understand at the end of the session, what do I expect from you? Okay, I need you to understand what you need to be prepared with in terms of aptitude. I keep repeating this word, but what exactly is it? What are the question types? And do you think it's going to be difficult? How important is it in the entire scheme of the interview process? These are some elements that we are going to look into in detail. Okay. Most importantly, we will also look at, okay, I've understood aptitude. I know it's important, but how am I going to work on it? How is it going to help me? Okay, how has it helped other students? So you will get an idea of how it has helped students kind of achieve their dream job, and how it is very important for you to start the process like yesterday, or better still now. Okay, so we will be looking into all of this. Okay, so let's move forward. So when we talk about a dream job, okay, so there is a process, because I'm sure dream jobs don't. I shall move ahead. All right, because it just showed I got this message which stated it. All right, super. So now we are talking about the typical steps to your dream job. Okay, so what happens is the process is this way. Okay, so first the profile builder team, okay, they get information on some vacancy at a partner company. So once they have knowledge about that vacancy, what they do is they kind of reaches out to the student profiles which actually fit into fit in that profile, and they are the students are made aware of the same. Then you have the technical, they give the profile to the recruiters, the interview is scheduled, and then we get an update. But to get you a more detailed run of this, let me tell you what exactly happens. Okay, so the minute we get information about a vacancy, we actually send out a Google form. Okay, and we ask the students in terms of students who are interested, suitable, and the relevant profiles. So you will be filling in that registration form, and once we get that, we will give it to the recruiters. Now what happens before the interview round, you could have the aptitude test, which I told you, which is very, very important. And then you have the interviews with the recruit in terms of the selected candidates alone. And then you will get the feedback from them as to whether the interview has gone well and you've gotten that dream job. So this is technically the placement process. Okay, and I think this is a very structured process, and with at every level, okay, in every element you will be guided. We have an expert team. So what is most important here, and I'm going to repeat this particular instruction at least 2 or 3 times. What is important is that you be in touch with the team, you get in touch with the team whenever you have an issue, so that right from the beginning, right from the word go, you are in safe hands and you're going through a very seamless process. At times what happens is when you have issues, you kind of wait, kind of work on it on your own, and sometimes you lose a little time. So the essential element I would like to highlight here is, do keep in touch with your team, follow the instructions given, and take advantage of a very structured, seamless process that will lead you to your dream job. All right, so that's all what about the process. Now, I told you, oh wow, we will get a dream job. Do you think, okay, let me quickly ask you, and hopefully the chat box should work now. Tell me, do you think it is easy to get your dream job? Just give me a yes or a no. Do you think I just walk out there and say, oh, you know what, this is the company I want to work with, and lo and behold, I get an offer from them? Will that happen, or does that happen on a normal basis? Quickly give me a yes, no, I don't know, if you're not very sure. Yes, let me look for some names. Sejal, Rampal, Nila, please, some of you do give me some answers. Otherwise, I would get the feeling that you're probably, you already dozed off or something. Quickly, give me an answer. Do you think it is very, very easy to get your dream job? Give me a yes or no. So we only have 9 of you. So, let's get this to be a little more engaging. Krishnakant, since I saw you answering last, can you give me an answer? Do you think it's easy to get your dream job? Forward. We are talking, I told you, when you talk about a dream job, okay, or talk about a job application, okay, it is a very structured process, and there are many, many elements which are kind of essential. So let us look at the various elements, considering I'm sure you have an idea about some of them. So let's look at the first one, okay. So when we talk about a job application, okay, let me ask you this again, hoping that at least 2 or 3 of you give me an answer. Do you have a CV in place, a curriculum vitae or your resume? Do you have a CV in place? Have you worked on it already? Yes, okay. The reason I asked you is this, because now I think it is high time that you have worked on your CV, and not just the CV, a CV which is in the format, in CL Career Labs format, and a CV which is approved by the Career Labs editors. Okay, so that is one very important element of your job application. Moving forward, what are the others that we're going to talk about? The next one is, I'm sure all of you are again aware there, when we're talking about mark sheets. Okay, we kind of, our system is kind of, the backbone is are the mark sheets, and it is very important that we have the mark sheets in place too. Moving forward, what's the next one? A cover letter. Now, cover letter may not be a requirement in every application, but if it is there, it makes sense to have one ready in the prescribed format. Okay, and beyond that, what else are we looking at? this is where I'm going to be talking to you. You may think technical and aptitude test, it is very important you know what kind of questions come on them, prepare accordingly, and be forewarned about the kind of questions so that you can ace that test. Okay, and let me tell you, sometimes what happens is that is the element of filtering there. Okay, when you have many students with similar profiles with great other qualifications, how do you filter one over the other? Technical or aptitude test may be the filtering point. Okay, what else are we talking about? The other elements being the group discussion, okay, which again you will have a session moving forward. So when you have the focus of month sessions, every session is aimed at kind of dealing with one element. So moving forward, you will have a session on group discussion, okay, and then we will move on to the interviews. Okay, so once we have, okay, sorry, I think I went ahead, just give me a moment. Okay, so we were talking about interview and the soft skills, which is again an important element. And once that is done, that is where your job application is kind of in place. All right. Okay. So now, having said this, we have understood what are the elements that go into a job application. Tell me, again, asking you a question and hoping for some answers. What do you think is the most tough element here? Is there one element you would say that is tough over the others, as it preparing for technical interview stuff, or is it preparing for group discussion, or is it preparing a cover letter? Do you think there is one element which is kind of more difficult than the others? Quickly throwing this question to all. Right. So anyway, I'm going to continue. Okay, stating that I asked you a question about, which one element is more tough than the others. But let me tell you, the answer to this is there is no such element. Each one of this, okay, each one of the elements here is important and has to be a very structured process. Okay, so I cannot just say, oh, what, if I have a good covering letter, I'm going to ace it, or if I have a, if I perform well in group discussion. So group discussion, someone may tell you, lead the group discussion, speak very clearly, give your opinion in a very straightforward manner. All of that, yes, will work, but there is no single element out of these which can work well. A combination of all these that make your job application process a successful one. Okay, so let's move forward. So we are looking at a checklist. So let me ask you guys, we are talking about this checklist. Let's look at what you should have done by now. So we are talking about the starter pack courses. In my opinion, this should be completely done and dusted now. Okay, and moving forward, we should also talk, you should have been also done with advanced courses. Now, I know some of you may be stuck in terms of certifications. So the point here is aim to get that done very quickly, because now, you are in the right time to be working on all this. So ideally, ensure that you finish doing the advanced courses and also aim for at least 2 certifications to be in place. Additionally, we should also be looking at projects. Some of you may be completing them now. So ensure that that is in place too. And we also spoke about the CV or the resume. Okay, now CV resume, 3 bits. 1, it should be ready. 2, it should be ready in the format required, or probably you can look at the portal. It will give you the format. You can also go through the webinar, which will give you an ideal, information about the same. And finally, we will also look at the also ensure that it is approved by the editors at Career Labs. Okay, so now we are looking at my area of expertise, which is the aptitude course. So what are we saying? Practice, 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 because that's what you need to do when it comes to the aptitude course. All right, and how should you practice? What should you practice on? That is what we will be looking at moving forward. Okay, so before we go ahead with that, what are the typical components, okay, of a job or a graduate school CV? So you know what is important. You need to have, yes, education being the, the first primary element, but look at the others. Okay, what does that involve? You should have your undergraduate projects, more specifically course projects, publications, presentation, patents. Okay, all these are important elements which you need to be working on. Beyond that, if you look at, internships, part-time jobs, These are also things that should be included, because these are the components of a good CV. If you have all this, yes, you are in place. Okay, moving forward, what else do you think you should have? Okay, extracurricular activities. Now we may, again, there has to be a format when it comes to the extracurricular activities, because you need to actually emphasize on awards which are significant, volunteering that you have done, hobbies that, that just beyond mentioning hobbies, ensure that the hobbies are relevant to what you mentioned in your CV. Also something interesting and something beyond the normal, something out of the box that you have been doing. Okay, now how do you get more information about this? Though I have told you in the beginning about the course portal, I mean portal course which is available to you in the portal, please ensure this is the way. So take a screenshot if required, because this is what you need to keep in mind. How am I going to get more information? Number one, go to the portal, open out your course, look at the previous focus of the month sessions. Specifically, there is a, there's a session on drafting your CV that will give you an excellent way of, an excellent idea of how to go about it. And more importantly, as I told you before, ensure that you do contact the team whenever you hit a roadblock, whenever you have a query, whenever you have a doubt. Do that in a timely manner so that there are no, you don't lose any time and everything is seamless. All right. So I presume you, all of you are on board and you're on the same page when it comes to what I have discussed right now. So quickly checking again, are all of you clear with the content held, dealt with so far? Okay, aptitude is tough for him. Okay, Krishna has said that aptitude is tough for him. I kind of saw this message as at the right time. Okay, so we are, currently in that threshold where we are moving to this. Krishna, so my suggestion to you is, let's go ahead with the next few slides. And at the end of the, slides, I will ask you this question again. If I'm not able to see this answer, I'll ask Prakhar to give me the, send me the answer so that we ensure that this question of yours is dealt with. Okay, so we are looking at aptitude. Let me begin by saying that okay, this is different from your normal exam. Okay, it's not like oh, I read all the important questions from the question bank, I go the next day and I do a decent job. Well, aptitude does not work that way. It requires consistent practice, and it requires and it is more of smart work than just hard work. We have a lot of hardworking students, but herein there is an element of smart work, because this is where you are going to have that edge over the next student. So obviously it requires prep, it requires smart prep, and it requires you to be familiar with the traps so that you don't fall into them. All right, so let me ask you, since you mentioned aptitude, how many of you in your free time open, probably like, I have to do it because I'm doing my PhD. How many of you open out PhD dissertation papers or research papers and read it for fun? Do any of you open out research papers to read it? Oh, I have some time in hand, let me read a research paper. Do any of you do that? Yeah, no. So I presume even without, actually being able to see that answer, I can feel, or I can actually hear that loud no. So who does that? Who actually takes out research papers to read when you're free? I mean, there are 100 million things. There are so many reels waiting for me. But anyway, the reason I asked you this question is because we are going to do a small activity. The next few activities which I'm going to be doing with you is just to tell you what aptitude is all about and how we are going to deal with it. All right, so moving forward, so I told you about the importance, isn't it? It is a mandatory trend. It's not even a trend, it is a mandatory part of the company's recruitment process. And I told you the important thing, sometimes it could be a filtering point. I told you, between two students who have a good profile, who have everything going for them, how will you have that edge? Probably a higher aptitude test score. Okay, so let's begin with the session, the aptitude session. Okay, so as I told you in the course, okay, you open the portal. In your course you'll see something called verbal reasoning. Okay, they have circled it for you. You have verbal reasoning, and we are going into something called reading comprehension, which is why I asked you the question about dissertation papers and thesis papers. So right now, this is where I want you to kind of take 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I want you to quickly read through this passage and tell me what you felt about it. Quickly, guys, give me an answer in the question box. Were you able to read it entirely? Yes or no? Just a Y or a N will give me, the right perspective. What you, yeah. So Ram, okay, now I'm able to see. Okay, Rampal says no. Okay, and just another question. Did you find the passage interesting? Yes or no again? Quickly, guys, did anyone like the passage? Would you like to take some more information about it, and would you like to read one more page on it? No. So, okay, so this, what I want you to understand is, this is the situation we are going to face. The passages are not going to be interesting. They're not going to be taken from fiction, mostly from research papers. So it's going to be pretty convoluted or pretty serious in terms of the content. Okay. All right. But anyway, at the end of the day, I have to do my bit. I have to kind of answer the questions. So how am I going to do this? Okay. So based on whatever we have done, okay, so right now you saw the passage and you felt, oh, this is not something I'm going to be reading in great detail. So I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to the next page, and I'm going to ask you, do you think, you've not even read the passage, do you think you can answer these questions? Look at the first one, which says, which one best expresses the main idea of the passage? Tell me, after whatever reading you did, do you think you're able to come up with the main idea of the passage? Were you able to give me in 1 or 2 words, if you kind of have an idea what it is about, what the passage was about? No. So I presume, I think, I would like to believe that you really were not able to come up with the main idea with a little bit of reading that you did. So what I'm going to do for you is, I'm going to kind of go to that passage and try to help you and see whether we are able to figure out something. Okay, so if you guys were if you've gone through your portal, and if you did open the section, you would know of a term called ROSI. Okay, so what is ROSI? Okay, let me try to write it down for you. Okay, I'm going to kind of make it slow. Okay, so what does ROSI tell you? ROSI tells you read opinion, skip information. Okay, ROS. It's a little tough process. I'm just going to put it down. Okay, so this is ROSI. What is ROSI? Read opinion, skip information. And I'm going to quickly ask you if you people have come across this term before. Have you come across the term ROSI? Did you go into the portal and check this? Quickly give me a yes or no in the question box. Have you gone through this? Oh, are you aware of this term? I'm just going to wait for 5 seconds. Otherwise, I'm going to quickly tell you how to go about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fine. So I'm going to help you kind of deal with this. So we will look at what ROSI is. So ROSI tells you that read only 20% of the passage and still you can manage to find your answers. So which is that 20% of the passage that you're going to read? So here again, I'm going to give you a tip. So what are we talking about? We are talking about, I'm going to kind of change it to the laser pointer so that you guys know. Okay, so what we're going to do is, we are going to read 4 sentences. What are the 4 sentences? The first line of the first paragraph, okay, which is, the human species came into being at the time of greatest biological diversity in the history of Earth. And then this last line of the first paragraph. So here again, we're talking about consequences of biological collision, and they're certain to be harmful. And that in essence is the biodiversity crisis. So I see an interesting word, which is biodiversity crisis. Okay, I'm going to hold on to it. So 2 sentences done. I only have 2 more sentences. Which are those 2? I'm going to read the first line of the second paragraph. Okay, the history of global diversity can be summarized. And you know what? I'm going to stop there, because the minute I see summarize, after that, I know there's a lot of information. They're giving me data, 200 million years, the various period, okay, 240 million years ago. So quickly tell me, what did I learn in the ROSI setup? Should I read information or should I skip information? Quickly, give me an answer. Do you think I should read the information or skip information? What did ROSI say? Read opinions and super, Krishnakant, skip information. So I am going to do away with the rest of the second paragraph. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to the last line of the last paragraph. So what does it say? The biota is not only a part of the country's heritage, a product of millions of years of evolution, has potential source for immense untapped material in terms of food, medicine, commercially important substances. So what have I done? I have read 4 sentences. I will repeat. First sentence of the first paragraph, last sentence of the first paragraph, first line of the second paragraph, and the last line of the last paragraph. So now with this, you remember I told you there was one interesting word that I came up with. Do you guys remember which that word is? Quickly give me that question box. Just give me the short form. What was that word which I stopped at and said, interesting. I should probably look at this. What's that word? Remember here in the the first paragraph. Okay, so since I think you guys are still there, I will give you the answer. The word is, we are looking at biodiversity crisis. Okay, so with this we are stopping, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to the next para. Okay, I'm sorry, the next slide, and I'm going to ask you now, based on this, okay, we are looking at the main idea of the passage. What I want you guys to do is just take 20 seconds, read those answer choices A to E, and tell me which one do you think is the right answer. Quickly, guys, in the question box, I'm able to see all the answers now. So quickly waiting. What I'm going to do is we will look at the answer choice C. Okay. The enormous diversity of life on Earth could not have come about without periodic extinctions that have conferred preeminence on one species at the expense of other. Now, you know what? Right now, if I take that whole sentence, okay, I would just get even more confused. I'll say, oh, such a long sentence. So I'm just going to look at bits, okay? Enormous diversity, okay, there was something mentioned. Could not have come about without periodic extinctions. Could not come about seems a little strong, but yes, I did read about extinctions. But then we go on talking about one species at the expense of another. So if you recall, we remember reading about or something, seeing something about the human element. So yes, I might agree with partially, I mean with the answer C partially, but that is not the main idea. Instead, if you go on to, incidentally, the correct answer here is E. Okay, if you go on to E, what does it say? The current decline in the species diversity. Stop. Go back. Do you remember I told you about that word biodiversity crisis, and I kind of took your attention to that word? So this is the reason. So therein, I know, yes, there was a crisis. Yes, there's a decline in species. And then what are they talking about? Human-induced tragedy of incalculable proportions that has grave consequences. So I know, yes, there was a decline in species. I know there was a human-induced action there, and the grave consequences are there. So, Krishnakant, by virtue of this being a more complete answer, the correct answer here is E. Okay. Now, based on just, okay, did you understand? Quickly give me a yes. Those who have kind of got it, quickly give me a yes in the question box. Or Krishnakant, if you have understood how we have gone about this, quickly give me an answer. Give me a yes in the question box, and we will move to the next one. He says, okay, all right. So now I only have this information. I am not going back to the passage. I'm going to the second question just with this much information. It says the author would most likely agree with which of the following. So I'm not asking for your opinion, my opinion, ABC's opinion. I am asking for author's opinion. What does the author believe to be true? Okay, similar exercise. I will give you 20 seconds. Please go through all the answer choices and tell me which one do you think works. So now what happens here in the second one? So what is our knowledge of the passage? We have seen that there's a decline in biodiversity. We know that there was human action and which led to a crisis. Okay, now basically with all this, if you look at the value of biodiversity is often overlooked. Now understand, if the author has to agree with it, he should actually say something to that effect. Okay, and when we read the main idea, did we get an idea of this? Actually, what would happen on this question is you have to look at bits. Okay, so what does A say? there is a precise and optimal level of biodiversity that has to be maintained. So yes, that's kind of what they ended the passage with, saying that yes, we need to kind of maintain some level of biodiversity. Now, whether it is unique, we do not have any information. Actually, another close answer would be C. Okay, if you look at C, we are saying that loss of biodiversity is a perilous predicament to befall the inhabitants of Earth. But look at the usage of the word most perilous, which means it's the most dangerous predicament. Now, the author nowhere said that this is the only predicament. There are so many other problems that we have in life. So just because of the phrase most perilous predicament, answer C is wrong. And again, when you look at D, I told you it is not. Yes, we are talking about the value of biodiversity, but then look at the phrase often overlooked. We do not have any statement in the passage or any sentence in the passage which says, what, it is often overlooked. So, why I'm doing this exercise with you guys? Because I want you to understand, if I try to read the entire sentence or if I try to take the entire passage, I will find it extremely overwhelming. What is the moral of the story? Break it down. Break it down into pieces. Like when you have the passage, break it down to chunks. First paragraph, second paragraph, final paragraph, a few lines. Do not engage in reading that passage entirely. You may lose time, and you may also lose, you kind of lose focus because the passage may be tough. At the end of the passage, after you finish, you may actually go back and read it 2-3 times. Okay. And this is an activity which is very detrimental to your time. So what will you do? You'll break down the passage. And when it comes to answer choices also, I am not going to read all the answer choices. Instead, I'm going to break it down, look for important words and phrases, and that will help me choose my correct answer. Quickly, guys, answer in the question box. Do you think this strategy is better than reading the entire passage and all the answer choices? Give me a yes or no. Do you think breaking it down is a smarter way of attempting to find the correct answer? Give me a yes or no. Okay, so that's exactly, thank you Krishnakant, thank you Rampal, because that's exactly what I want to tell you. Because today it's not the place I can take an entire passage and explain it to you, but I just want you to understand technique for reading comprehension. Break it down. Now that I've got two answers, it's motivated me. Let's go to the next question type. Okay, so like you had reading comprehension, let me tell you, reading is where most students kind of stop and they say, oh no, this is tough. But there are some other elements too, like in our school, if when the teacher told us about verb, noun, all the parts of speech, and in great detail about tenses, that time we thought, oh, you know what, it's working well, and we kind of managed moving forward. But now in the aptitude test, you have an element which is being tested, which is called sentence construction and grammar. So grammar elements, there are a lot of them. There are modifiers, verbs, tenses, all of that is there in your portal. But let's take a small example and see how we work with it. Okay, so I am going to this example here. Just a second. Not a very, I mean, this is not as long as the reading comprehension passage. So again, I'm going to kind of give you about 15 to 20 seconds, okay, to read the question, and another 15 seconds to find out the answer. As soon as you find out any letter, please post it in the question box, so I know that you've understood. I mean, you've found the answer, and then we shall discuss. If you read this question and you are like, I don't know if there's an error. Is there an error? Sometimes it kind of looks okay. Sometimes I feel there are errors, but I'm not able to find which error it is. Are you in that state of mind? Give me a yes in the chat box. Give me a yes in the chat box if you're in a confused frame of mind as to where is the error. Quickly, yes, no. Or if you've managed to find some answers, please give that. There is an error in E. Okay, there is an error in E. No, we are supposed to find the right answer. So are you saying the right answer is E? So actually what I want you to do is, if you look at the question here, okay, if you look at that particular sentence, it is underlined, okay, which means there is an error there, and they have given you 5 answers where they've corrected the error somewhere, and you have to figure out where it is corrected. Okay, so I'm not going to teach you any grammar now. This is not the time space, and probably you'll all kind of shut down and run away. But so I'm going to give you a tip here. So if you look at this portion of a sentence where there is an ing, Okay, so here you have the sentence saying using a helical CT machine. Quickly tell me, if you look at this, who can use a machine? Has to be some individual or some person per se. If you look at this particular one, this is called a it's called a phrase. If you, it is dependent on the noun next to it. So what does this one say? It says metastasis. Okay, so when you look at metastasis, obviously it is a process, it cannot use a machine. So which is why you will eliminate. Now this is called a modifier. You will have the explanation. In fact, you have a 40-minute video, okay, explaining this in very clear terms. But I'm going to quickly give you a tip. So what happens is, how will you do this question? You will not sit and read malignant tumors can be detected, malignant tumors using a helical CT machine. I'm reading out the answer options, okay? I don't have the time for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly look for some hints or clues which are there in the question. Here the clue, the minute you see an ing, it should jump out and say, hey, look at me. So herein it's called a modifier issue. And if you do that modify, if you look at that error, let us see how many answers we can eliminate. Eliminate A, because I know metastasis cannot use a machine. Again, if you look at B, malignant, using a machine, malignant tumors. So I know malignant tumors cannot use a machine. Eliminate B. See, detecting malignant tumors, blah, blah, a physician can use. But then what is it talking about? We're talking about a physician using metastasis. Again, does not solve our, it is not constructed properly. Before the signs of metastasis, malignant tumors can be detected using a, so when you look at this phrase, before the signs of metastasis, we are talking about malignant tumors. Again, the wrong construction. Let us go to E. Using a helical CT machine, who can detect, who are we talking about? We are talking about a person. So that is why I asked Rampal, because your answer was right. Okay, you told me answer E, that is actually correct. Using a helical CT machine, who's using it? It is a physician. So the correct answer here is E, which is why I asked you, did you manage to find the right answer? So guys, do you understand that even when you have a grammar question, like I told you, for the reading comprehension, even if you have a grammar question, don't try to take it all together. It is only going to make you stressed, or you may get overwhelmed. Instead, look for small clues, break it down, and that will help you figure out the error. In this, yes, I know it is too quick for me to tell you, okay, this is a modifier error. You may definitely need more information, but then I just want to demonstrate to you. Don't worry, break it down. You can still find your errors or find your answers. Have you understood this? Because I'm going to one final question before we move on. Quickly, give me a yes if you have understood this quickly in the question box. Rampal and Krishna Kant, yes. Okay, Krishna Kant says yes. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, since you have understood this, okay, there is this particular question that I want to go to, okay, and there is one last critical reasoning, but this is very simple because it is based on what we did in the last question. Okay, so five, you have a, I told you now what you should be looking at, underline portion, and this is given like laddu on a plate. Okay, they have told you I've only underlined one word, that too bringing, which is an ing word. So tell me, based on this, which is the correct answer quickly. You know what, since I got one answer, I'm going to quickly tell you how we could kind of address this in the limited time given. Okay, so I look at my answer choices. Bringing, okay, that's the same, and brings, and it brings, and it bought. So suddenly I know there are two words added here, and I should immediately go and see, achha, what does this it refer back to? Okay, now that's a smart thing to do. When a sorry, when you realize there's a difference in the answers, quickly go back and see, should I hold on to that answer or should I eliminate it? Now when you talk about it is a pronoun, okay, and it has to refer back to something. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about, what is it saying? We're telling bringing the number. So we're talking about the eagles. You know, eagles are, when we're talking about 5 fledgling eagles, they are plural. Okay, so it is singular. So Rampal, the first thing I can do is I can eliminate C and D. Okay, because the it there does not have to put it in a very technical sentence. You will say that this pronoun does not have a precedent, which means it does not have a noun. It refers back to, in fact, it refers to a plural noun. So it is singular. I will eliminate C and D. Now left with A, B, and E. Again, if you see A, B, and E, bringing, and then suddenly you see the other two answers have and. So what happens? Okay, do I need an and there, or does bringing work fine on its own? So I immediately go back to the sentence, and what do I realize? I realize that 5 fledgling sea eagles left their nest, blah, and bringing to 34. So tell me just one question. Did one happen after the other, or did it happen together? If it happened after, give me an A in the chat box, in the question box. If it happened together, give me a T in the answer box. And if you get that, you've got the answer. Quickly. Did one happen after the other, or did it happen together? Quickly, 5 seconds, guys. Give me a or a T. Then we can kind of together. Super, Krishnakant, and that brings you to the answer, because since it happened together, if I use an and, it makes it two different events. So go ahead, quickly eliminate the other two answers, B and E, and the correct answer here is A. So guys, what I wanted to tell you here is again this. The last one we struggled a bit because we had to figure out. But now that we already had perspective, do you understand how technique can help you? Like you look at the answers, look for differences, eliminate two, then first level of elimination, you eliminate two, next level of elimination, you eliminate two more, and you find the correct answer. Do you think this technique will save time? Yes, no? Quickly in the chat box. Seconds. Yes, super. So this is exactly, I'm not asking you to learn all the grammar rules here, but have you understood? Yes, there is a technique for every question type. Okay, and finally, to understand if you guys have understood the logic. Okay, so now there is a third type which says, oh, let us look at critical reasoning. What is critical reasoning? Let us look at the analytical skills of these students. Are they able to apply logic? Are they able to do some problem solving? So these are other questions based on it. Okay, so this is the last question for the day, and this is completely your baby. I want you to read this, and then I shall just read the question or the small paragraph there, and then we shall quickly presume we have read. It's at it's a letter which I think we really don't want to receive or read, but anyway, they're saying thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, we're not able to offer you this role. The number of openings is limited, and it's impossible for us to offer a role to all those who want them. As a consequence, we are forced to turn down many highly qualified candidates. Now, what can be inferred? So you have 5 options here. After reading this, what can you infer? What do you think is true of all these 5 answers? But I'm just going to tell you one thing. Okay, the minute you see the letter, I mean, you see the word inferred, you have to understand it has to be 100% true, which means 100% it should be written almost in that paragraph. So quickly read answers A to E and tell me which one works. I'm giving you about 5 seconds. Just tell me which one works. We'll discuss, and then we will move to the last few slides. And I'm gonna kind of take this up. Okay, so we are looking at E, and okay, I got A2. Okay, let me tell you, one of this is the right answer. Okay, so let's look at the options here. Okay, so what does the answer? I'm going to take only both of them because that's what we're stuck with. Let's look at E. Most of those who applied for roles in equity research department were considered qualified for the available positions. Now, if you go back, what are they saying in the question or the paragraph? They're saying that we are forced to turn down many highly qualified candidates. We don't know whether they were just suitable or were they more than suitable. So no, E is not an answer that can be proved correct from information in the passage. So what is the correct one? Yes, you are right with A. The number of candidates exceeded the number of openings, which is why we don't understand why this candidate was rejected, but we know that the number of openings is limited. So we can't offer a role to all those who want them, which means number of openings is lesser than number of applications. that is the only inference. Okay, so which is why this word is very special. And this kind of questions come in reading comprehension also. So what is it? The minute you see the word inferred, your antenna should go up and say, oh, this is a special question. I have to be extra careful with the answers. All right, so people, with this, basically we come to the end of the aptitude session. Okay, and probably I am a little biased towards aptitude, because I'm kind of I deal with this on a daily basis. So probably yes, I like dealing with this better. So what I want to ask you is this: do you think you got a little bit of perspective on how you have to work for aptitude, as in how you need to definitely have some kind of strategy, you need to have knowledge of techniques? Do you agree with that? Give me a yes in the question box. Do you think knowledge of techniques and practice will help you ace the aptitude session? Quickly in the chat box. Yes. Okay, and that is the yes I'm waiting for. I think that is the yes, which kind of tells me that okay, you are kind of following the what I'm telling you to the T. Super, guys. So now we move to the other bit. Now this is a section which I'm not qualified to speak about, because the quantitative section. So math is something I struggled with at various points. So herein also we have we have trainers and we have techniques, and you'll be amazed, okay, at some of the techniques that the quants trainer tells you. It tells you, yeah, what were we doing in school? There are so many amazing techniques that you will learn when it comes to quants too. So what I want you guys to do is this. See, I've given you various screenshots. I want you to understand that these sections are very important, very informative, and are very valuable for you guys in terms of preparation for aptitude tests. Okay, and also if you move on, you also have there are 4 of them. Okay, so you have quants, you have verbal, you have logical reasoning, and you have communication. 4 elements. Okay, but if you see, okay, in this particular graph, okay, if you see, the quants, verbal, logical reasoning, and communication has been has not been utilized extremely well. So what we want you to do is, in order to be able to take advantage of all the placement drives, all the placement opportunities, please ensure that you at least remember, the criterion is 80%. Please go through at least 80% of the content, and I'm telling you, this will definitely help you. It will give you immense confidence, and the minute you go in as a confident person, as a confident student taking up a test, half your job is done. You will not get overwhelmed. You will know exactly what technique to use, and it will definitely help you save time. All right, so this what I want to reiterate here is, please open your course in the portal and go through it in detail, go through all the videos. It is learning for life. Okay, and after this, what I quickly want you to go through, or just look at, are those 2 profiles, 2 success stories of these students who have received or offers. Okay, the first one is from Venkateshwar College of Engineering, and the second one from Vellore Institute of Technology. So guys, with this, we actually come to the end of the session. Okay, I'm going to throw the floor open for any kind of questions or queries that you have. Okay, and we can address it. And this is not the only forum. Anytime you're stuck, please do contact our team, profileprep@thecareerlabs.com. They will get back to you, and they will ensure that any kind of roadblock or hitch that you face is taken care of and dealt with very seamlessly. Okay, quickly guys, do you have any questions? You can kind of post in the chat box, question box. I shall wait. Okay, let me ask you another question instead. Do you guys have a better idea of aptitude and the process of getting into your dream job? I have started my advance. Now is it late? Nothing is late, just that you need to get it done quickly, and anytime you get your certification also done in time. And if you are stuck, get back to the team, because the minute you get your assistance, I'm sure you will be able to do in a more structured manner. Have I answered that question? And I think anything more, you can contact the team. They will get on a call with you and help you in detail. All right, so Prakhar, can we look at if there are any more questions. Kind of, I think you can deal with this. Okay, questions. Yeah. So this is what you need to know. They are taken from, all the questions are also taken from, previous companies from where, aptitude tests are there. So all of this is content that is worked on with a lot of effort, and a lot of research has gone into it. So it's going to be very, very valuable, right? Thank you, people. Thank you for the the initially we were slightly lukewarm, but then thank you for the kind of enthusiasm shown towards the end. I hope you have received some perspective, and see you soon in the next session. Thank you, and bye bye.